Good morning and welcome to today's live show. Remember, if you're not watching this live, to tune into the last 15 minutes as we do a breakdown at the end of the stream. So make sure to tune into that. If you're not watching us live, if you're watching us live, make sure to like and subscribe. We'd love to have the community grow in this area. And then just a note before we get into some technical analysis, we're going to do a full breakdown right now because last night we couldn't put out a YouTube video. So today we're going to do a little breakdown in the morning as well, popping through these. But I just wanted to leave up the SPY for a moment to show you guys those daily expected moves. And remember, if you need to learn about how to trade around these expected moves, if you need to learn about these indicators, we have about 4 days left for the course at 149, and the price will go up. So make sure to snag that if you're trying to learn. Don't go buy some $2,000 course. I can tell you right now, keeping it simple is a good thing to do. And really, I think $149 is fair. And then you just have to apply everything, right? If you're able to apply everything, you can be successful in this market. All right, now let's go into some technical analysis. Now, we were pointing out on the SPY the fact that there was a 30-minute divergence, and so we need to pay attention to any downside that can come today, which we're actually seeing at the open. So we want to pay attention to a few levels here. 513.69 to the upside. That's your daily expected move for the upside. And remember, this is all the options market has priced in for today. So if we get outside of these moves, right, we have a 68% chance for a bounce. But if you do get outside of them and you need some kind of pullback, you can use that as resistance to head a little bit lower. We'll be paying attention to our 2-hour charts as well here. The downside here, 506.43, which lines up pretty well with the monthly expected move. So it would make sense to end right in this area by the end of day. Pretty much anywhere in this area would make sense, but right now with the direction, it would make sense to get some kind of bounce by the end of the day. But we'll have to see if that's going to happen. Remember, we can close in these lines. We're going to get those new monthly expected moves, which you can get down on Patreon. We're going to be putting those out tonight. So if you want those monthly expected moves, exactly how far the options market is pricing in any stock that we really cover on this channel, all the stocks that we cover on this channel, you can go to the Patreon down below. But seeing if this 30-minute divergence can get us into negative territory on the MACD, big thing. But the big thing here is also when you see a 30-minute divergence, you really want to see this 2-hour roll over. So we'll have to pay attention. Yes, this is selling in the morning, but we have to see if that continues because we are, we're going down towards the bottom side expected move. We're only 2 points away, less than 2 points away. So we have to pay attention to any kind of bounce that can come from here. If we're going to see something more dramatic, well, it's probably going to be a pretty good breakdown. Remember what we've been leaning towards for the real bounce, and make sure you're paying attention to the red lines. Those are going to be your daily expected moves. So if you don't have those right and you're trickling in, make sure to get these on your chart for the day. This is for this SPY. Now we want to pay attention if this is able to go negative. What could happen from there? Well, we could see a dramatic sell-off, come down to this area, get some kind of double bottom or even a divergence at this point. So this is what I'll be paying attention to today, seeing if we can push down. But pretty much if this 2-hour curls down, I just want to pay attention to any time that curls back up because most likely that is going to be the next big move up unless we are going to see something bad with earnings or something like that. So we'll be paying attention to a lot going on throughout the day. What are we at? 809. 809. Okay, so let's keep it moving. Make sure if you're just tuning in to get those daily expected moves, look at the beginning of just look about 2 minutes ago and you can get those daily expected moves on there. Pause it for a second, then catch up. Now for the Qs, we have a pretty solid range here, right? To the upside, we got 438.40. So you notice I took 438.28 off of my chart for today just because, hey, this is pretty much at that level. If we see a breakdown from here, that's fine. But remember, 438.28, so pretty much today, 438.40 is where I think we have to get above to really solidify like, hey, we can go to a new all-time high and we're back to bullish. So at this point, though, we could see some kind of breakdown. What could happen from here? Well, we could see something like this go on throughout the next few days. And we'll have to see if that's able to play out, but you can tell going on into Friday. Friday is going to be probably the most important day in the market because we get data the day before we get Fed interest rate, and then, or 2 days before we get Fed interest rate, right? And then after that, we also have all those earnings coming out on Thursday night. So Friday is going to be a huge day. Just be careful with Friday because we have earnings. But to the downside, we have 427.10. We're paying attention to a similar thing. Now, the Qs did not have this 30-minute divergence up here. There was no 30-minute divergence on the MACD and RSI at the same time. It's just on the RSI. So that would lead me to believe, hey, this could just be some kind of pullback and then curl back up into positive territory. That's where we'll pay attention to the 30-minute. 30-minute we're going to pay attention to there. Let's look at Apple for now. Dropping down to lower levels. The interesting thing about Apple was on the 30-minute here, it was finally able to cross down, and this thing was still going down towards the end of the day. So people taking some profit in an area we'd expect, right? We know this is a sell zone. This gray box up here, if you've been subscribed, and I hope you think about it today if you're not, but we've paid attention to this area for a long time. Ever since like August, last August, we were like, okay, this zone. We've made this zone. It's come, and it's funny how in the future it becomes so important in the future, right? We made this zone in August, and now look, in March it's becoming important. In April it's becoming important, and now about to be in May, and it's going to be important. So very cool. And we talk about the support and resistance and how to make these kinds of boxes in the course, actually. So 149 for the next 4 days. So snag that, but look at that box coming in. Now the 30-minute able to roll over. What I would really be paying attention to still is the 2-hour beat down and curl back up. I think Apple does have a good opportunity for some kind of flush. We actually went up towards the daily expected move, but I don't think we hit it exactly. So I would see maybe this happens and then earnings is actually good for Apple. Apple saves the market or something like that. But I'm not saying that has to happen. Remember, earnings is a 50-50 flip, but this would make sense to digest a little bit and maybe go down to this gap, get like a 50% retracement, and then start to head up for another upward move. Now, going forward, Tesla, this guy has been going ballistic. It is outside of its weekly expected move. It is going nuts. But that does not mean we aren't going to see pullback. So really for Tesla, because it's bullish, looking at the 30-minute is going to be the best thing for us, right? Because look at this, even this upward move, you notice it just flatlines once it pops up, positive territory, boom, big positive move. Obviously that's a gap up, but it went up even higher in that positive territory. So what you're looking for here is a beatdown. We know we've marked it up for a long time. 180.92 is a very important level. If we can come down to there and base out, okay, cool, next move is coming, that would get us into the zone that we were calling Tesla to go to. Now, I thought it would take a week or two to get there, but it did it in like, it would do this move in like 3 days. That's pretty impressive. But that daily divergence, we talked about the daily divergence on Tesla, giving you a triple divergence. Very, very strong, and that took over. That's why we don't short things that cross on that MACD, right, on the daily. Even if we think there's weakness here, we don't want to short this because, well, the daily divergence momentum is going to take over. So at this point, though, you'd say a pullback is necessary. Levels to pay attention to, 180.92. If you have your weekly ranges, I would look at that too, but right now you're well outside of it. So if the weekly range is somewhere around here, you'd say, hey, okay, if we don't hold up at 180.92, now we can use that as support to then head higher, that weekly range. So if you're part of Patreon, you'll get a little bit extra info to help you out trading Tesla throughout this week as it is trading above that expected move. Now you know if that pulls down to it, it could use it as support. If you see that curl up, most likely next move's coming, right? The MACD curls down, curls back up, next move's coming. Then maybe we set up a divergence, but we could see something more dramatic here, some kind of profit taking. Amazon, this has earnings after hours today, so this is going to be very interesting. Remember, Amazon coming up into a good point. Actually, this point here would be even better. Like, this is why I'm kind of leaning towards Amazon actually going down after earnings. Not saying that's going to happen. I still don't know. I don't know the info, right? I don't know what numbers they are going to produce. But I do know this. If it wanted to go higher, a great place to make structure was at this level, right? We could get a beautiful head and shoulders in here. Just a beauty. And we aren't doing that. We're starting to trickle up higher, and now we're seeing something similar to what we see on the daily throughout this entire move way over here, which was every time there's a pop, they're selling. Pop, they're selling. Pop, they're selling. Pop. Let's see if they're selling again. That could be the insiders selling at that point. We have to be wary of that. But just be careful. Earnings are going to be after hours today, and Amazon could cause a pullback, but it also could cause a huge, huge bounce. So it's 50-50. Nvidia, this one here actually did something good. It was able to just, move sideways, right? Able to move sideways. We're leaning towards more of a drop to touch this zone. I think that would be very good. Get this close to the center line, curl up, boom, next move coming. Because a lot of the time when you break through these resistance zones, you notice this, look, we pop up into it, it's resistance. We pop up into it, we try to gap to get that strength out of it. And that's very, very good. But a lot of the time we like to dip down and test that zone again, even just the tippy top of it. And then we see that next big move, entry right in there. So nothing too bad going on for Nvidia here. The only thing you'd say is, hey, it's a little bit up here for some time, so maybe consolidation is good. At this point, you'd say for a bull, consolidation is very good at this level. Consolidate, then maybe we get a good earnings and Nvidia starts to explode. The only problem is that would be before Nvidia's earnings, but we'll talk about that when it comes. That's not till May 22nd. AMD also has earnings today, okay? And this thing started to produce some little divergences up in here. And so you're looking like you might want to break down to lower levels. We'll have to see if this is going to play out, right? Left head, right shoulder. We'll see if this is going to go positive. Okay, well, the daily's probably crossed up at this point, right? You see that crossing up. So I wouldn't be shorting this at this point just because that daily momentum can take over. Even though it's down in negative territory, you get a green bar in the histogram, you can see a strong move. Not saying that has to happen. I'm still leaning towards, maybe even AMD and Amazon doing something like this, causing the market to come down, and then we get some good news throughout the week. But it doesn't matter what I think is going to happen. I have to form all the scenarios in my head and then pay attention to what is actually happening in front of me. What is actually happening? If I'm open to both scenarios, then I know how to get in or out of both scenarios. Very, very good. Amazon will announce dividends and be up 20%. Hey, that's very, very possible. Meta, this one starting to break down again. Now remember Meta, the bad earnings, the good earnings that were bad. That's pretty much the theme of this year, or this current earnings is going to be, hey, yeah, if you have a good print, just don't say anything. It's literally just don't say anything, because if you have a good print and you say something, the stock goes down. So right now, Meta heading to lower levels. What could happen here? Well, right now we're moving sideways, so we can wait for that 5-day to catch up on the daily scale. This is more when I would be looking to short, is when you actually do get a retest of that. So as of right now, we see the 30-minute just kind of doing this wonky behavior where it's like barely trickling up, wanting to curl down. But I would think that we might even see just some kind of little reaction to catch up, or some kind of sideways move still to catch up to that 5-day. If we're going to see a divergence down here, well, boom, 30-minute divergence. Okay, let's go. Pay attention to the weekly range for Meta at that point, because that's going to give you even more clarity if you should be taking a trade, where the probabilities are at. That's what the weekly ranges are good for. We actually go into it a lot in the course. We tell you the percentages and tell you why it's important and why people use it. Good morning, Marina, John, Dave, Dee Dee, Frankie, Nick, Miles, Matthew. Welcome, welcome, welcome. People are starting to trickle in. Now, something else we can go through the other ones we're paying attention to. Microsoft, one thing here. It is moving sideways. The direction was chosen yesterday, down. And it's in negative territory, so you can't just see an ABC down. The only thing that's kind of interesting here is you're pretty much in a range in this flag, right? So, obviously it's a range flag here, but you could break to the upside, curl up, and where would you be? Positive territory. So very, very cautious with this. If you see a curl up, just pay attention to how you can get screwed out of a trade. Now, for Microsoft, one thing to pay attention to this 2-hour, we had this divergence down here with this spike. If we get another one of those spikes, I can pay attention to my weekly range. I can see here, maybe we get a quick spike down and then we get triple divergence or something like that. We can pay attention to things that are happening outside of the range. And going forward to Google, this 2-hour just been cooked for a long time. Now, if we're looking for the next big move up, what do we look for? Well, the 30-minute to curl up. The direction was chosen here. People are bullish on Google. Okay, what does that mean? Well, you went way above the expected moves up here. So now you're going to see that profit taking. And now we're probably outside of the expected move for this week. But just know that selling can come in. And now we'll see this maybe dip down and just buy back up. So we could just see this curl up into positive territory. Keeping it simple might be the move on this one, since it is pretty bullish. Going forward, we can look at things like SMCI. I just want to point out it's in the top of our zone here. We've kind of struggled throughout this area to get up there, and now you're very cooked. You would like to see at least some kind of pullback, but you can also, if there's going to be more downside, just look at the 2-hour. A lot of these 2-hours are sitting right by negative territory, so that negativity can come. Bought the course yesterday. Yeah, thank you, Devin. I really appreciate that. And I hope you enjoy it, and make sure to send me an email if you have any questions. Going to start it this morning. Awesome. Yeah. And it's cool to take it even while the market's open, but I highly encourage you to have like some charts up while you're doing it, maybe a stock that you've liked to cover. And then once you go through a section, you can be like, okay, let me look at the MACD behavior. If we're talking about a 2-hour, let's look at the MACD behavior, find a divergence, see how it played out. Okay, cool. And then maybe you could even find that happening in real time to show like, hey, I would take the trade here. And then you can learn as you go, maybe kind of take some fake trades. And then by the end of the course, you're going to be like, all right, I think I'm ready. I really appreciate it, though, Devin. Let me know what you think. SoFi we haven't looked at, but that thing had earnings, and the direction was chosen for this one. It looked like it was heading down. Okay, so now we're breaking through these levels. So we were talking about the fact that you don't want to break down below 697, so you don't want to hang out down here long. Thankfully, you have a little liquidity down here. So I would probably say a closing bar today below 690, not very good news. But what can we pay attention to? Well, how could this thing actually head up? What if it briefly turns down and then turns right back up? What if it briefly turns down and for some reason going into Thursday, Friday, it turns back up? Well, you'd have some kind of divergence here. And if we look on the daily, you're going to see this as well. If we curled down, you had the point of divergence. Actually, you didn't really have divergence here. You did have something get up close to the center. It's like almost divergence, but it's not. Now you can create that divergence by just doing this, and now you can say, okay, it's there. So what if it does something like this and we see a spike? Because this thing is in a falling wedge here. It is. It has divergences across here. If it can kind of solidify those over the next few days, you could say, okay, maybe if we get some good news here, I can take a play and boom, hold that for a little bit of time. Maybe target this high or at least the gap fill up towards 868. That's what I'd say about SoFi. But remember, the direction has been chosen down. So the easier thing when you get a direction is see if this 30-minute curls up and then curls back down into negative territory. Even if you wanted to do like a 15-minute here, I would totally understand. But it's already happening, so just pay attention to that. And if you wanted to make a range for SoFi, like a weekly range, all you have to do is take the course, and I give you a way to make a range for any stock that you cover, or any stock that you're watching. Alrighty, now let's go back over to volatility. Let's see what's happening over there. We're going to pay attention to the dollar as well. Now, volatility on the 4-hour, because the 2-hour, we know there's divergence. So let's just look at the 4-hour. Has that been able to fully break out yet? No, it hasn't. Has it been able to curl up yet? No, it hasn't. So volatility is not here. Maybe we mess around again for today, and Amazon and AMD are the ones that have to solve it after hours. They kind of give us which way the market is actually going to go at this point. You would say a pop in volatility makes sense here. We're at that 15 level. Remember, we said 15 is exactly where the first bit of volatility could come in, and maybe that's just big volatility and we start to crash, or it could be what we're leaning towards, which is we do something like this, we get a lower high in volatility while we get a lower low or a double bottom in the SPY. That would be very, very telling, because that would tell us, hey, volatility is coming down while the SPY is basing out a little bit better. So that would just tell me, boom, this thing could go up from here. So that's what I'm leaning towards. I think that we'll get some kind of big bear trap here. But if we don't, and maybe this just sets up like this, or maybe this doesn't even happen. Maybe this just fizzles out and we get really, really bullish. We're still open to everything. We're just paying attention to the signals. Now, the 4-hour for the dollar, remember the dollar, I mainly just pay attention to 2-hour, 4-hour, daily, weekly. And right now we were in some structure in here, right? We saw that kind of flagging happening right here. You can kind of see it. Now we kind of scoop up to this level. Well, we're completing a cup, getting the handle, and we got some kind of double bottom down here. So less of a cup and handle, more of just a double bottom. You can see the divergence on the MACD. You see the divergence on the RSI. RSI able to get above 50. Now, that MACD gets above that center line, the dollar can start to take off here. So be very, very cautious as you are if you see some upside today, just because if you see the dollar going up at the same time, and if someone could keep their eye on it and mention it every once in a while, that'd be good. Now, one other thing that's happening, the 10-year is starting to increase again. So you're seeing the curl up of a 4-hour into positive territory. What does that mean for TLT? Well, we're going to see another drop here. So I actually got out of my trade yesterday because I had a feeling this was going to come down today. So what I'm looking for now is another point of divergence to get back in. Okay, I took this play up. Now I can just see, is this going to, base out and just curl up, confirm a positive trend here? Is that going to happen? Or am I going to dip down and make a divergence like this outside the weekly move or something like that, where I can go like this and then see that close to the center line? That's what I'd pay attention to with TLT. And remember, we do get news, the data that will really affect the yields at the end of the week. So be very cautious with this stuff, because once again, we get data that's also a 50-50 flip. But if you wanted to weigh the odds here, it would be leaning towards the 10-year dropping off still. But we've said that for a while, right? We've been leaning towards that drop off, since right here? Since right here, we were like, okay, TLT can start to go up. It drops off. Okay, well, good thing we have good thing we have indication here, right? We have this. Okay, we get stopped out. All right, comes down. Now we can do this. We take a play. It's just, it looks like it really needs a solid bounce, but it's not getting it. So I would just say this curls over into negative territory on the 30-minute. We head to lower levels. Any bounce that we get, as long as we continue that trend, we have to break that trend. We have to do something that breaks that trend to see an upward move. And it really looks like that moment could be coming. Maybe we want to get down to our gray zone. All right, but looking at a couple things here, I just want to go back over to the SPY. That way some people can get those daily ranges if you're looking for those. 30-minute was able to curl over. Now we're seeing that pop up. Okay, some people getting excited at the end of the day or some kind of fake out. Boom, that starts to drop down. DJT we haven't looked at in a second, but hopefully that thing is able to buy up like we were saying. Yep, looks like it's going pretty positive here. Now, we were leaning towards bullish here, but we would like to see structure, right? So now, when you see moves like this, it's either, hey, this is V-shaped recovery, or, hey, this is really not healthy. And from this perspective, this would be not healthy, in my opinion. I think that we need some kind of pullback to really head higher. Now that you're way up here, you're kind of asking for a big drop. But the cool part here is, if you're paying attention anywhere down here, sure, we thought it would come all the way down to, 1950, holds up around 22. Well, what's over across at 22? Little source of liquidity here. So if you're paying attention to this, and then you just see, okay, the daily or something like that, maybe the daily curling up on the MACD, you can do something here. But I just want you to make sure you understand you're still in negative territory. And this is a very, very big move, very fast. Now, in this big move, you got consolidation. So I'm just saying that can happen again. If this is just an ABC move, we might be in trouble there. Let's look at a 2-hour as well. See this thing not able to curl over just yet. So when you do, this is actually pretty good. Now you need to do that again, pretty much. So I would not be going bullish here. I would still wait for my structure and get that breakout. It is a very bullish move, though. I don't want you to think I'm crazy. That is a very, very good move for DJT. DJT. Good morning, Sheebs. SPY, let's go down a bit, please. Hey, SPY, could you go down a little bit? Morning, Naveed, Bernie. Gabusta. Yeah, say hi in the chat, guys. Let's get it going. Make sure to like as you come in. Tesla seemed to ceiling at 200. That very well could be, right? But we do have that more of a sell zone up in this area, right? These tops touched it. And then when we broke down through it, right, we tried to gap out of it. So it's a very difficult zone to get out of. We could see if it was important in the past. Support, tried to use it as support, tried to use it as support. When we lose it, we don't want to stay below it long. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so this is a more important area, I would say. Sure, you can see a sell-off anywhere in this liquidity. We can get some selling in there. I just think we might build that liquidity up and then see a more sudden drop if that's going to come. If we're going to base out and go above that level, well, something like this would make sense, right? Thoughts on Uber? I haven't looked at Uber in a long time. This is one you could say from a risk to reward perspective. You could look at the momentum. It's been beat up for a long time. But the only problem here asking about this guy is you have earnings right around the corner. So you could see a bounce, but I would be paying attention to the direction right now. Look at the direction. It is down. You could probably make some kind of trend line here. I would just say this. You have 30-minute giving you some divergences. Okay, I have a 30-minute giving me some divergences, but this thing's been beat up for a long time. I don't have weekly moves for this just yet. We could see some kind of bounce here. Does that break trend and able to go up over time? Well, once it's about to create that positive trend where you can trade it to the upside, you got earnings right there where it's could go down, could go up. So it's a rough time for it. Let's see if there's anything on the 2-hour. Well, the 2-hour just dipped down. So I'd expect a little bit lower prices, just a little bit. I think maybe something like, let me zoom into these. Let me get really into it. And it's starting to open up now, but yeah, where this gap is. 65.92 might be the area you bounce, but pretty much in this area, you have to know this. We could bounce right now. You have divergence down here on a 2-hour, so if that curls up, you got a good shot here that actually happens. It's pretty significant, actually. For where the MACD is, it's pretty significant. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So for today, excuse me. There we go. For today, we need to pay attention to if these 2 hours are rolling over. I think that's going to be the big telling thing. Are the 2 hours actually going to roll over into negative territory? And we're opening up a little bit lower. What if we see some kind of reaction to go fill the gap? You know, we always do stuff like that. Let's look at some shorter time frames here. Let's look at a 5 minute. What's going on with the 5 minute? Well, something interesting is you notice the selling actually comes in when? Well, it's right when we're right next to negative territory. That's something that we really, this is so important. Who was it that was taking the course today? It's, oh yeah, Devin. Devin, if you are paying attention to the MACD section where we talk about the MACD, you're probably going to hear some stuff that no one else really tells you about the MACD. And I'm telling you right now, this right here is one of the most important things. And you notice it because look at the 5 minute. Right when that thing goes negative, that's when we start the negative trend, right? It's not this turnover. It's not this one barely going negative. It's right when we're right next to it and we get a sudden drop into it. Boom. Now it's just an on. It's on. So it's very, very important. Drink some tea, please. I know I need some tea probably. I've got coffee instead, but I just wanted to pull up a 5 minute to show how the trend is changing on the shorter time frames, right? The 5 minute just continues to roll over. Okay, it continues to go down. That's what I'm just overall getting at here. If we're going to see the 5 minute back to going positive, okay, we're going to retake these moving averages. These are starting to flatten out even right now. They're flattening out, looking like they want to do this. Okay, so if we retake those, guess what? We're going to be going positive again, and this isn't the moment for a sell-off. But is that overexcitement before Amazon and that drops off? Well, we have to pay attention to those actual numbers. How's everyone doing out there? Does anyone have a play they are really excited about today? Someone's got to have a play you're really excited about. Your mom's basement. Sophia, hi. I don't feel like I've seen you in here in a little bit, but maybe you were lurking for the last few days or something. Or I'm just forgetful. PayPal. We can look at PayPal. Want to do a SPY call 1 DTE. A SPY call? Yeah, you still want to wait for something to happen, right? You need to wait for this 15 minute to curl up. You need to wait for the 30 minute to curl up. Some kind of reason to take a trade. Paracosm is what I would say. Some kind of reason to take a trade. If you're confident in it, maybe you have your own style, maybe you know, but right now I'm seeing 15 minute right by negative territory. Sure, if that curls up, yeah, positive move could come. But right now, it could just go negative, and that's actually what's happening. You see it barely crossing the center line there. Now you need more confirmation, but let's look at PayPal. We looked at PayPal last week. It was fun. I like PayPal. All right, PayPal. Look at this again. Another earnings getting some red print. Stock go up. So probably some other news here able to keep this thing going up. Let's look at the daily scale. We want to look at the daily at this point. Okay, you're probably creating a divergence. Ooh, maybe not. If that fades, I'd say we're most likely going to see this whole thing fade. I would really say that. Now, something we did on PayPal last week was just created this little trend line here. If you trust your trend lines, you see it curling up into positive territory. Boom, you get a confirmation the next day. We don't fight against this. You could play with it. Right? You could play with this if you want to say, hey, this crossed up on the MACD. I'm getting into this move, big move up. All right, now we have divergence that could form. Now, the thing is, the reason I wouldn't take this is because this guy right here, that little E down here really messes up stocks and how they're actually going to behave technically. So I don't trade around earnings unless something is a crazy risk to reward and I can get something very, very cheap, like if Apple completely breaks down and puts are just cheap, or calls are just really, really cheap. Yeah, I'll probably buy like 3 or 4. Like I'm not gonna go nuts with it, but pretty much and look at that, we're starting to fade the whole move. So you see the daily divergence. Like this is what I'm talking about. This is a big move. You want to at least reconnect with the 5. I'm not saying this isn't bullish. You're above the 200. You're above all the moving averages. But a lot of the time you see a big move like this, you like to reconnect. An example of that is what Google, I think, is doing right now. As you can see, what did it do? It pulled down into the 5-day moving average. So look at that, 5 days right here. What does it do? It pulls down towards that. Now that's the retest. Now you could see, is Google going to curl up into positive territory? That's what I'd be paying attention to. But Similar with PayPal. PayPal, you'll do the same thing, right? So looking at the 30-minute, we're going to pay attention because, well, one, you got divergence on the MACD, but overall, you want to see if this move is real. You're most likely going to move sideways, move a little down, curl back up, and then see that positivity come in again. Now, this is just the first day, so if it wants to keep getting bullish, kind of like Tesla, okay, that could still happen. But for a trader, I'm not buying anything here, right? I'm not buying in this area. I'm not shorting in this area because this thing could just take off. I'm not doing anything with this. I need structure now. Gold. Ooh, I'm down to look at gold. Gold's been fun lately. The gold play playing out. Damn, should have kept my gold play. No. 2 hour curling up. Let's see. Curled down into negative territory at this point. So now you're looking for that second move. Remember what we were paying attention to? Well, one, we need to pay attention to anywhere we can make a divergence. Looks like you're not going to make that divergence. So you might just get an ABC pattern down. Okay, where could that lead us to? Well, we'll find out. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. All right. We can come down to, well, look at that. We have a line down here. Okay, we have this gap fill that we were kind of looking at. And then I think the overall area I was really leaning towards was 205.65. But I think 207.80 would be a good spot for some kind of bounce. But you might only see that on the MACD, right? So if we only see it on the MACD, we don't have it on the RSI. That just tells me, hey, this could be some kind of bounce that then fades again. So I'd just be open to that. But the direction for gold looks down at this point, not even oversold yet. So it looks like we could see some more downside. And you guys know gold was my trade. Look at this. I mean, if you were looking for a decent setup, look at this. You could scale into this move. What is it, right? I don't think I scaled in here. I scaled in on this one with this topping tail, right? So this was my first scale in. Boom, I scaled in, got one position here, saw a move up, scaled in again, got a position here, got a move up. And I was like, okay, I'm going for double top. I'm buying just a little bit to make my price better because I think this thing's coming down to 215. And I let you guys know that. And what does it do? It goes down to 214, 214 at that point. So this was a great trade for me, but it looks like we could see that pull down. What would that mean? As of right now, gold's kind of telling you like the inflation play is not there. So we actually might see the yields back off by the end of the week. Sofi, you're looking for a trade setup in the future. We already went over this a little bit, so I probably won't go over it again. But you're looking for, actually, this trade could set up for you like right now. This is pretty much where I'd expect some kind of bounce, actually. If we look across, you have these lows. That's kind of why I'm saying this. These lows here, when you broke down through the level we're testing right now, you didn't want to go lower. Now, the thing with this is the daily is crossing down on the MACD. Now you can form that divergence. Now the divergence is in play if you're able to buy up from this area. So I'm not saying this has to. It looks like the direction after earnings is there. So most likely you want to play with that direction. Look at a 30-minute, find this thing curling up to the center line, curl back down. You can remain in this wedge for some time, right? Even though it's in a wedge and you see that daily divergence. Daily divergence is good. I'd say Sofi has a good probability for some kind of more meaningful bounce here, even if it's just to test levels like 760, 750. Now, one thing I was paying attention to, not Dogecoin, not the small caps futures, was Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually dropping off again on this 4 hour, now creating a bunch of divergences, but really dropping off here. And we got to see, is that curling over the daily, right? The daily denied that crossing. This is what I'm saying the overall stock market will do. I think now, if Bitcoin's going to follow what I think the stock market will do, well, then it's going to do something like this and then bounce. And we're going to see this happen, right? We're going to see double bottom. We're going to see something down here. We're going to see this happen, right? Where we test the bottom of this flag, and then that's a fake out, and that just keeps going. A down day like this will fake a lot of people out. They will sell out, and then boom, right when they expect that selling to increase. Be careful if it goes below this low. You could start to head a lot lower. Because of these wicks, right? We have the wick here, we have these wicks here. So I'd say if we drop below 59.3K and close there, you're probably heading to the 200, which lines up with almost a little bit of liquidity here. So you can see if it goes across. Boom. Nope, that was cheating. It goes to about there. So we could see this drop down to this area, maybe the 200's in that area by then, and then we see a bounce. But as of right now, I'm leaning towards some kind of fake out, and then we actually end up going to the upside. But Bitcoin choosing a direction right now, and the SPY and the Q is not really confirming any kind of downside. So we have to pay attention to our MACDs. We have to pay attention to how long these things can take. That's why I don't like 0DT. If you want a meta call, I would really wait for structure. But if this 2 hour curls up, you can hold, you can try it just because it's been beat up a lot. The 2 hour curls up, okay, and then you want to see if it can get past 453.08. I'm not telling you to do it or not, though. I'm really thinking, hey, if this 30-minute wants to just go positive, then you could do that. Then you could say, okay, now I'll take a chance. I think before you take a play down here, you have to make sure you're not curling over, which you could do once you test this level of 453.08. So yeah, we can get a reaction up to 453.08, but are we just going to reject from that area? Are we going to take it back? This is more what I'd pay attention to. If you get above and use it as support, boom, breakout. All right, cool. If you're going to use it as resistance, well, then you're probably going to see this happen where you go, boom, come back down to this area, and then you fool around a little longer and fall down. So pay attention to the 30-minute just curling over, still in negative territory here. Until that's positive and above 453.08, not convinced. Dane, thank you so much for subscribing. Really appreciate it. You just want to be very careful shorting anything that's really chosen a direction. This thing could just not do anything. This thing could just completely do this until that 5 day is able to catch up, and then you see the next move down. Just look at that 30-minute for most of the day. If that's curling down, you should not be taking any calls. If that's positive and above 453.08, well, then we might be getting some kind of recovery here. I feel like I said a lot there. Now, one thing that's happening as of right now is look at the daily scale. Daily MACD turning up, positive territory. What happens when that happens? Well, usually some positivity comes in. So we'll have to see if that's able to happen. Right now, though, you'd have to say, well, the 2 hour really needs some, like, if we're going to load up and get a big move, I would like to see us go down to lower prices. I would like to see us go down into this. I would like to see us go down into this. But like I said, it doesn't matter what I like to see. I need to pay attention to any kind of curling up. Well, the 30 minutes great for this. 30-minute curls up. It hasn't even gotten really that overbought yet, so we could see a big move. If this 30-minute curls up on the MACD, well, then upside looks likely. The only problem is you got earnings and stuff again, so you have to be hedging in this scenario. Good morning, Jose. How's it going? Melody, I hope the Sofi thing was a little bit helpful. Upside, please. Apple able to turn back to positive, starting the day a little negative, but I'm able to come positive here. So what we're looking for at Apple is if it's going to be a higher low, okay, that looks likely at this point, and then we see that curl back up right around that when it hits this price, right, we come fill this gap, and then we can head back up. I think that's very, very likely for Apple. But like I said, it doesn't matter what I think, what I like. It matters what's happening now, and then I just react. So if I see a move like this, well, I'm going to look for a divergence here. I might scale into a position at that point. Because if we keep doing this and we see some kind of drop off before earnings, okay. Now, once earning comes, I'll probably be out of this position. I probably won't be messing around because Apple has that daily momentum to the upside. If I'm going to take a play on Apple, it's going to be very, very short. What's Nvidia doing? Yeah, it's going to struggle in this area, even though it wants to break out and go higher. It's because the 2 hour needs that pullback. I really think the 2 hour, even though it's not really overbought, and you are moving sideways, like this is still very good. If you break above this level, it's very good. You get a closing bar pretty much like this. If we zoom into this and you just say, okay, if I get a closing bar above the closing high, okay, and that comes with the wick as well. And then we look at all these bars right here. Where does it not want to break below? 869.50. It really doesn't want to close below there. You get a closing bar there, you could actually turn that into a little bit more selling if this thing kind of does a breakdown. Now, if I'm paying attention to upside, what could I see? I could see a divergence, right? I could see a divergence before this thing wants to break down. And that would make sense. We got a lot of time until those earnings after hours. So if this wants to curl up, positive territory, boom, we could see some kind of move here. Watch out if there's any divergence that is created at that point. Pay attention to my weekly ranges. And let's go look at the weekly range for Nvidia. And Nvidia is still just right in the middle, so you're probably not going to test the weekly range if you see the upside move and then create that divergence. I just want to point that out. But like from the structure right now, it does not look like we're getting to the top side weekly range until we see some earnings. If we keep seeing upside, right? If we keep seeing, this is kind of telling, I think. Sure, we can get that recovery if just everything's good news this week. Just everything's good news and we get above 438 for the Qs. Okay. well, then we're probably going back to bullish, right? We're above that 438.28. Okay, but if we're going to see this buy up like this, the risk is, hey, we're going up like this on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we get more important info, in my opinion, and then maybe that's ripped away. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we get tons of data that could just, if we get an upward move, we just see that ripped away, and then maybe the earnings comes out as bad. So you have to be open to bad news if we end up here. That's why I think a pullback would be very, very good. A drop down would be very, very good, because then that good news that could come out would be economic data, most likely would cause some kind of V shape from down at this level, and then you'd have a double bottom. Stronger base. Because this is a weaker base, well, any move like this, we have to be a little bit cautious with. ELT is starting to drop off, so that's the thing too. The SPY is still like playing around pretty much almost break even. The TLT is actually down 0.62, could be almost down 1% soon. It's trying to hold up as of right now, but just curled over on the 30-minute MACD. That's right, I look at multiple charts at the same time. Holy crap. Any of you on MCD? Let's see, is that McDonald's? Yeah. McDonald's, oh, huge bar down, huge bar back up. So mixed bag, looked like bad initially, and now it's buying up. So why would it buy up from here? Well, that means they probably don't want to lose 265.24. You lose this, you might flush. So if we look on the daily scale here, let's see what's going on here. Actually, I would say you really don't want to lose 260.33 either. So losing this level here, you're going to go down maybe even to 260, right? So paying attention to that, they don't want that to happen just yet. That's not able to curl down yet on the MACD. Now you're seeing a bounce up. What could happen from here? Well, the 30-minute could go back to positive. It's really, it's not the furthest away. You're going to notice it's going to take some work, but it can happen. Now, that direction was chosen, so we have to pay attention to downside here, but this is going to take some time before we can really talk about any kind of trade setup here. That's just a massive buying back right after a massive drop. What up, JS? How's it going? Elf's in danger. You got double top with the divergence, so this is actually a very good trade setup. I know it's a little down with the closing bars, but this is actually a very decent trade setup because, boom, you have a daily range, right? Maybe you take the course and you're able to make a weekly range, and that weekly range was right up in this area at this point, and you said, okay, I see the divergence, I'm taking this, boom, it plays down. Now you go into the next week and you say, okay, now I can play that downward range. Where's that downward range? Well, if we closed on Friday up in this area, that range might be down here, so you have to pay attention to that, but that's something that the course will give you. It's great for profit taking, knowing how low and how high a stock can go, and if it's breaking through that level, right, this is very important. Now you're confirming a double top. Okay, what could we do? Well, we can measure out how low that could go. So I'm going to go to the closing bar up here and just go like this, put it on the closing bar, not going to use the wick though. Use the wick for the measurement, but it looks like 159.90 actually could be. So you got about maybe a 10-point drop that could come. Now, it has earnings around the corner. What could happen from here? Well, what if we get a divergence before that earnings? That would be very, very good, first of all. And then if that's good news, well, the momentum's dead. When we get that news, maybe the momentum's dead and we see that start to rip up. So I'd really pay attention, though. I think we could make that divergence pretty quick. SPY trying to buy up, but seeming to struggle just a little bit. Struggling at that 5 on the 2 hour. So we'll have to see if this is able to cross over by end of day. I think this is one of the most telling things in the market right now. I'm daily bullish for the SPY. I see a plus 0.3% EOD minimum. Yeah, and it could happen. I'm just saying, like, even in a positive perspective, even in a bullish perspective, a pullback here would be very, very nice. Even consolidation for like 2 days here would be nice before we get big news. Yo, captured this. Catch that Tessie move. Catch that Tessie move? Well, Tesla, the reason that we kind of caught this move now, we would like structure more in this move. So I'd be, if I was still in this, I'd be a little bit worried up here because there's not a ton of structure to hold you up if you start dropping. But you are above 180.92. That's good. Now, why could you have been bullish? Well, you saw some of this. I know it was right before earnings, but right after earnings, we actually got this crossing. So you knew the direction here, the daily momentum can take over. That's what's happening. It's just now going positive. What could happen for now? Well, what if this 5-day needs to catch up? That happens a lot. When you test top Bollinger, you wait, you kind of consolidate to the 5 on the daily scale, and then boom, you see that next move. So what are we paying attention to? Any curling up. We're seeing curling down. What can we see? That continue down right around 180.92. We could actually be at that 5-day moving average even tomorrow, right? That 5-day could catch up. We get down to this level. We see that next move higher right there. That could happen. The only thing is now you're really outside of your weekly range. You're really outside of it, so you did that early on in the week, so you do have a 68% chance to land like below 177 or something like that. So just pay attention to that. That probability is still there. Yeah, we feel you, JS. Honestly, thought Tesla would go down and have lower earnings with all the debacles they have had. Well, you know, people are Tesla fanatics. Can you hook me up with your charts that I want mine to be exactly like yours? Well, we go over that in the course. I'm not going to do the full breakdown. I mean, if you just want to, you know, pause at this point and just look, these are the indicators that I overall use. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Oops. All right, cool. Inputs here, right there. All right, cool. Like, I don't care. I'm not one of those guys that's going to hide all my shit from you so you have to take the course, but I'm just telling you, having the indicators is one thing, knowing how to use them is another. But yeah, that's pretty much the settings. You can go back and pause. MACD, RSI, Bollinger Bands, moving averages, and that's pretty much all I use. You're welcome, capture this. Yeah, something in the market is like knowing what the MACD is. I think I say that in the course. I'm like, knowing what this is. Okay, moving average, convergence, divergence. Oh, cool. But knowing how to use it, why it's important. First, you want to know why it's important. Second, you want to know how you can use it. And how to use it means maybe you need to understand divergence. Maybe you need to understand positive, negative territory more. So that's what the course does. It really just gives you the I think it gives you the skills behind the indicators. I use 12 indicators. That's too many. Holy shit. I would be overloaded. Because if I have 12 indicators, do you know how easy it is to make 5 reasons to take a trade if I have 12 indicators and just like all of them show the same signal at the same time? I could be convinced something's great. And just the one that I need to be paying attention to. I think this is all you need to be successful. And most of the people who are selling you indicators, I'm getting emailed right now. Being asked, and I could get sponsored and sell you guys indicators for $1,000 that pretty much does the MACD and RSI behavior. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not trying to do that. I don't think it's very useful. I think you can be just as successful using free stuff. Gold, we can take another peek. Still dropping down. 2-hour curls over negative territory. That's all you're paying attention to at this point. It's trying to hold up. If it's able to hold up, okay, cool. Maybe that divergence is already there, right? But as of right now, maybe you could pay attention to an hourly on this one. See if it's forming any kind of divergence because the 2 hours selling off. Okay, so the hourly, in order to make that divergence, it's going to have to hold up right here. So if you're going to see this divergence really actually even proven in any way, you're probably going to see a couple more hours of downside and then just some small downside, and then you see that proven right here. But as of right now, it has a lot of room on this MACD to the downside. So I would believe that divergence is coming in the future, right? Something like this would be more likely, in my opinion. Maybe we get CPI data then. Maybe we get something else. But I can tell you right now, I'm not trying to call this thing at all, even with that hourly divergence. So 2 hours crossing over negative territory, yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'm out of my gold trade, and it was a good one. I took profit like right away. I literally scaled in throughout this, this right here, I was like, oh, that happened quick. All right, I'm out. I mean, like, you give me 90 or like I think it was like 85%. You give me like 85% or 100% in pretty much like 2 days, like because I scaled in for a couple days in this. Okay, cool. Or maybe it was 3 days scaling in, 40. I don't know, but at this point, you'd say, yeah, I scaled in for a week, and then the next day it just dropped off. So Bitcoin ETF will be denied in the U.S. and most UN countries, while the Ethereum ETF will be approved and skyrocket over BTC. It will be carnage. Now, JS, one thing is, when does that announcement come out? When does the Bitcoin ETF announcement come out? You can let us know. And then, yeah, we're still paying attention to the dollar, still paying attention to volatility. We're just not seeing those ramp up too much. Now, you're seeing it ramp up with the SPY starting to drop off just a tiny bit, but we really need a stronger, bigger move here, really to get us overbought, I would say, on a 2 hour. Just really get this RSI cooked, really see a rapid move. But if we just kind of fool around and then tomorrow we get bad earnings, we could load up even more liquidity in this area. We've been stuck in this area for a little bit of time, right? We've been stuck in this area since last Tuesday, pretty much just in this box, right? If you want to go back even further, you'd say, hey, well, technically we were in this box back here as well. There are people in this, okay? Still some selling coming in with the rips. So at this point, what if that happens? Well, we'd have to see. But if it wants to keep building liquidity today, okay, cool. We're going to see something crazy happen tomorrow, most likely. And just remember, guys, tomorrow, we are going to... And let me look at the daily here real quick. Yeah, let's see if that daily can curl up by end of week. That'd be pretty good. One thing to mention was tomorrow, we will be live pretty much twice, right? We'll be live in the morning, and then we're going to go live for Jerome Powell. So today's stream and tomorrow's stream... and then the streams in the morning after that will be a little bit longer. But for now, we're just going till 10 today and 10 tomorrow because we're going live for Jerome Powell. Consumer sentiment. And I do have data up over here. At least I had data up over here. Let's fix some stuff. Alrighty. Look at data. Pretty sure something comes out at 8:45. Look at that. Chicago PMI coming in a lot lower. Actually, coming in lower. So that's interesting. And then we get the consumer confidence in about 2 minutes here. Yeah, you mentioned 3 minutes. Now it's 2 minutes. I said it first. The important one, though, is going to be tomorrow. PMI and the job openings. Job openings supposed to come in a little bit lower, which is actually job openings lower. That's inflationary if it comes in lower. PMI expected to pretty much come in even. Pretty much supposed to come in at 50. Okay, so any print that's like above 50.3, since that was the previous, people can't convince them it's good news if it's above 50.3 at that. But they're expecting that to come down. So if PMI ticks up tomorrow, that could be bad news. And you have earnings at the same time as that. That's kind of crazy. I say that because Coinbase, aka Base, is a layer 2 on Ethereum, and Forbes just put out a do not buy list for crypto. Plus, the Bitcoin Binance guy just pleaded guilty to money laundering. Classic crypto money laundering. Classic. I'm signing up for the class. Thank you. Hey, I appreciate that. Capture this. And if you need those indicators also, if there's, because I think I go over how to add them in and the settings for a brief moment. But if there's any question on how to set up your indicators, just send me an email and I'll write you like a little walkthrough of how to do that. But overall, it's pretty self-explanatory, and I pop it up during the course so you can just type it in, add the indicators. Crypto money laundering class? Should we do it, guys? Should we create a coin? Let's call it TLW. Let's say TLW coin. The course is fire. Thank you so much, JS. I really appreciate you guys talking good about the course. You know, and it's important. It's very important for anyone that's thinking about taking the course. I know it's only $149 for the next 4 days, and other people have courses for thousands. but I took those thousands of dollars of courses, and I just said, you know, I don't think they even did the best job, so I made my own. And I was like, let's keep it simple. That's why I have this tattoo. I have, wait, where is it? This one. That one right there. Because keeping it simple is a very good thing. You don't need these fancy purple and blue and crazy colored, you know, indicators that cost hundreds of dollars a month. You just need MACD, RSI, the moving averages. And you can, you know, maybe weekly ranges. Weekly ranges are something you can learn, and I give you how to do that in the course. But yeah, I really appreciate it because it's important for people to know, like, hey, the course is good, and you guys saying it is better than me saying it, in my opinion. All right, it's consumer confidence came in lower. Let's go look at that print real quick. Okay, I need to refresh. It's not popping up for me just yet, but it's expected to come in at 104. I'm still loading. What was the print on that? Can someone type that out for me? What was it? It was supposed to be 104. Basically, everyone puts money in over the week, and at the end, they all get an equal payout of 90% of all the cash. Oh, so it's like a socialist coin. Socialist coin. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, God. Citation, I think Apple's forming a head and shoulders on the daily. It very well could be. That's the thing. It's like Apple has a way up and a way down, which is rough. It's rough. Now, on the daily, you could create that head and shoulders like boom, boom. I get what you're saying. I would overall just be looking for a breakout of this zone. I know Apple's seeing a strong move up again. That's cool. That's awesome. Just know the weekly expected move is above you, and you might just create a 30-minute divergence to give you a trade if you get up there, right? If you take the course, my boy over here, capture this, he's going to be like a pro at this. We're going into a sell zone. We have divergence. Like, the reasons to take a trade section is starting to add up here. Now, that's to say, that's looking for a move before earnings. I want to be very clear about that. This is looking for a sudden drop before earnings, not a drop with earnings. That's not what we're doing here. Consumer confidence at 97. Okay, 97 and 104. That's a pretty big difference. Now, seeing that, that's funny because we're still not selling off. That's just not the most important data. I think people are earnings hungry, and then something like consumer confidence being lower can add on to that tomorrow. I think that's very, very possible. If earnings are bad and all that news starts to stack up, we see the news coming out tomorrow. It looks like tomorrow's PMI could be ticking up, right? It's supposed to come in pretty even. And then the JOLTS job opening is supposed to come in pretty even, but lower. So lower job openings would be stronger economy. Truly, if we're fighting inflation, we should see higher job openings. So actually, if that comes in lower, that would be inflationary. Let me make sure I have this right. Sometimes my brain, I have to get it right. There's so much data I look at. Hold on. Okay, lower is bad. Sorry. Lower would be bad, and it looks like we're expecting lower. So you get a higher print in the job openings that actually can be seen as a weakening of economy, which could be the inflation's working. So it really depends on how people take it. What do you think when we feel bearish for Tesla? I think most likely, okay, I'll tell you this. Most likely what's going on here, if all this is right, and we get some kind of pullback and then we start to head up, we can go to a new all-time high. I want to be very clear about that. We'll pay attention to 2-hour signals and things like that up here, but we don't have the ability to do that yet. So what I'm talking about here is the 2-hour. What I like to see is weakness in momentum if it's going to be a lower high. Technically, you could get that lower high right now. Technically, we could be doing this. We could get this. We could go like this. We could draw it across. Well, not with that high, but we could draw it across and say, okay, here's maybe where that point sets up. All right, if we're going to drop from here, what would happen? Well, what if we see a drop like this and then we go like that? Well, we would be seeing some kind of little drop in some kind of triangle forming here. So I'm just saying that once we break through this resistance here, well, then that 2-hour can go ballistic, and maybe we see a 2-hour divergence up in this area towards the high. This is more what I would look for a top. If we're not going to be the top right now, we're just going to keep going, well, then I'm going to pay attention to the daily. the daily, if we're going to keep going and not create some kind of lower high at this point, is probably going to go nuts. There's probably going to be some kind of news that drives this thing up. What happens? Well, we see that go up in May, and guess what? We sell away, right? Sell in May and go away. Yeah, I know, but I'm just telling you about the upside. So I'm mainly using the SPY to tell you if we're going to see this go ballistic, you need to get above this. I think your area to pay attention to is this price point of 205, this right here. And then that you have to pay attention if there's going to be a pullback and then it's going to break through. So I would say bullish on Tesla if it breaks through this zone, bearish if it gets there and starts to fade until it's bullish again, right? That's what I would be saying for Tesla. Yeah, I would really be paying it. I think tomorrow's a great opportunity to trade things like Microsoft, actually, because you're seeing this drop off. We're paying attention to a 2 hour. That's starting to cut down again. A divergence can form here. A double bottom can form here. And you can see how those earnings play out. If they give Microsoft the bounce it needs, and then we see some good news from the Fed, that could be the bottom at that point. That could be the bottom. If we drop off and see any buying up in this area, boom, look at that base. You'd have a strong base here now. The problem with this right now is it's not a very strong base. If anything, you might have like double top if you start to cut below this low. So I hope that made sense. I know that's kind of a weird way to think about it, but it's hard to short something that is this bullish on the daily. It's hard to short something that has divergence, a triple divergence on the daily scale that just went positive. I would highly encourage you to look at a different stock, look for the 30-minute and trade with this trend rather than fight against it. Look for it to give you the signal it's making its next move up. That would be the big thing to get bullish. You get bearish once we start to curl over on this MACD, we go into negative territory, because that means you're violating the divergence. And if you start to curl over here, what do? You take out this low, you go make a new one, maybe you can go all the way down to 126. So I know that's hard to do, to wait like that. But you can see the 2 hours so up in positive territory that it's going to take a lot of work to go negative. It's going to take maybe here it starts to go negative. So therefore, you have a lot of room in here for this just to scoop back up with this good news. Almost got ready to dive in. And the thing is, just don't get frustrated. Just know you're being a good trader. Now, if you wanted to play downside here, I totally understand. Just have a stop. Just have a stop. If you're itching to take something, don't use a ton of money and have a stop. This could see a rapid move down. It really could. But you can base out from here. You can base out from here. You can base out from here. You want to pay attention to that curl up. If you're going to dramatically drop off, well, okay. And then if you're going to build back up, all right, I have my stop in place. Buongiorno. My brother, he speaks Spanish like he's Italian. It's pretty funny. He goes like, me gusta leche. And I'm like, what? Why are you talking like that? I'll just scroll up to the dollar. Dollar's still not doing anything crazy enough yet. It's fading. It's fading the move. We just, if you want, just look up here. All right, cool. I think we had it something like this. We keep getting these peaks out of it. Maybe we want to go like this. Just connect it to one of these highs and just say, okay, break out of that looks pretty good. But you can see also, this is what you'd really want to probably pay attention to, this level right here, 106. All right, left, head. What if we see that bullishness come in throughout today and tomorrow, and then that's ripped away? Or what if we see some weakness today? Weakness today into tomorrow, and then we see that start to buy back up, and then we get that right shoulder. So we're open to structure from this area. Look at that. It would be a breakout, a retest, and then you'd get a head and shoulders for the dollar. I would maybe put that up because it is something that could play out. And overall, that's what we like to do on this channel. We talk about a lot of scenarios because that means it's at least in your head and you know what could possibly happen. So what could happen if we just start to drop off from here? Well, we could break through this little mini trend. We could curl over on the 2 hour into negative territory and go test these lows again. That would make a lot of sense. Maybe we even go a little bit lower because these divergences didn't lead to the correct play out. So maybe we do see buying up for some time and we wait for the next opportunity. But if we're going to see selling, which is something like this could happen, this would be probably the lower high scenario at that point because we'd get that bullishness. we'd bullish into this move, and then we'd see selling into the buying. That sounds more like Dracula. I do sound like Dracula, don't I? What was that? The Qs? Yeah, the Qs. Do you think the Qs will reverse? I think the Qs drop from here, yes. But it doesn't matter what I think, guys, right? So we can pay attention to this. What do we like to do? Well, on this channel, something I've been saying lately is like, you can take a trade, just pay attention to how you can get screwed. So if you're saying, hey, this 2 hours is going to curl over, we're going to see some kind of drop here. All right, well, what would screw me over if this is going to go back up and I'm not going to win in this move? The 30-minute. 30-minute curling down towards the center line. So if that curls back up, I'm out of that position. I'm probably keeping the stop pretty tight as well at these closing bars. That's what I would say for the Qs. So you have to be open to both sides, and it'll make you a much better trader, in my opinion. Did he spend time in Argentina? Where did he spend time? I don't know. He did some kind of like mission trip or something like that in like Peru, maybe? Does Peru even speak Spanish? I'm sorry, you guys. If you guys didn't know, I'm really good at charts. Geography. Nope. Geography. Also, I'm not wearing white on stream anymore. I look so white. I look sick. Why didn't you guys tell me this? I can't wear white. I might go to the gym today. All right, I'm going to take... Actually, that's a good point. We got like 45 minutes left in this stream. I'm going to leave you guys on the Qs. Let's see if that's going to rotate down. I know the 2 hours is boring to look at, so let's look at a 5 minute, see if this can continue the negative trend. You see it getting towards the center line, ready for another push down if we can cross over. Maybe we head towards the daily expected move when that happens. As of right now, even on the shorter time frames, you could say cup and handle has formed, right? This level right here, obviously very important because that's where we really pumped to. So what did we do? Well, we completed a cup. Now we're getting a handle. If that crosses down, look for it to break this low. Okay, I'm just going to leave you guys on the Qs real quick and take a 2-minute break to go get some coffee, use the restroom, and change my shirt because a white shirt's making me look sick. And not the cool kind of sick. All right, I'll be right back, guys. right, guys, what happened? Someone update me. Oh, we're crawling back up. So once we see if the SPY goes green, we're going to start paying attention closer to the dollar. Mark, I know you're paying attention to the dollar, so we're going to be paying closer attention to the dollar if we start to see the SPY go green. Hello! Who sats in on pull-ups y'all moving this morning? Dude, I used to have that pull-up bar thing, and my brother stole it and took it to Texas, my little brother. He, like, thought it was his, and I was like, dude. But yeah, I actually used to do that. So between trades, I would do sit-ups, push-ups, like, between looking at charts, because if you just look at charts all day, you're going to drive yourself nuts. You're going to drive yourself absolutely insane. So me, I like to look at it for a couple hours, take a break, look at it for a couple hours, and then on serious days, I'll watch it. But my little brother, man, he's... What else has he taken of mine, you know? My little brother's a great guy. He's literally one of the funniest people on the planet. He's such a good kid. I say kid, he's like 29. Sitting is the new smoking. I like it. Only Dane subscribing live, guys? Come on, there's got to be someone out there who's going, I don't know if I want to subscribe to this guy. Just do it. Come on, be like Nike. Just do it. Look, we'll even look at Nike while you do it. While you subscribe, we'll look at Nike. Look at this. Look at this. We'll look at Nike. We'll be like, oh, God, never mind. Don't just do it. No. 30-minute divergence, weirdly enough, on Nike. Possible double bottom setting up soon. Ooh la la. Now, one thing is here as well. Ooh, cut, maybe big handle. You had a little bit of, not really head and shoulders. This is just some crazy behavior there. That is some big swings. So next 30-minute curl up. Hey, what if the big swing continues? Look at that guy. Might go up to $95 again. We'll have to see. See if we get a double bottom down here. But think about it. Subscribe. Just do it. All right, let me go look at a few things over here. Let's go back over to the SPY. Look at the dollar as well as that move. We haven't looked at volatility in a minute. Let's see what that's looking like. Volatility is still holding right around that 15 level. It's pretty much been at that 1472 like 5 different times. Buying 95 Nike calls. 95 contracts or the price point of 95? Just saying. Just saying. I don't know. You might be balling out. Capture those. I don't know. 95 contracts. You might be balling, dude. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. Make sure that you have the notifications on, guys. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. Paracosm, did you send me your indicators? That's hilarious. I'll take a look after the stream, but that's really, really funny. Oh, that's so funny. You sent me your indicators. You're like, this is what my screen looks like. It's just fucking nuts. There's 12 indicators. No, I'll take a look. Let me take a look real quick. Dude, what the hell? Like, how do you even do anything? There's like 5 RSIs here. I mean, first of all, the MACD you're looking at, what are you on? A 15-minute? 15-minute for the SPY. Let's go look at that. I like that look. I like that look. You're helping me out now. 15-minute getting really close to the center line. I actually like that picture you sent me for us to talk about, because look at the 15-minute. If that curls up, positive territory. Be very cautious going into tomorrow if this curls up. Be very cautious, because most likely by end of day, we're going to create some kind of divergence here. At least taking a hedge with volatility if you're playing the upside would probably be smart, but those indicators are so funny. Hey, man, if it works for you, no judgment. No judgment. It's just my ADHD would just probably convince me a good thing is happening all the time. But all your indicators look pretty decent for a move up. You even have like the RSI average line on there too. That's pretty funny. Hey, man, I'm never gonna hate on you for what works for you. Like the video, everyone. Luke deserves the love, and you know it. Smash the like button. Hey, thank you, JS. JS, you're awesome. Love it. And you have good commentary. That's what we love even more. Sure, you telling people to subscribe is cool, but your commentary is pretty dope. The daily MACD for Nike. That's true. We didn't do a full assessment here. Let's go. Let's look daily. Is that thing curling down? Ooh, yeah. That is a pretty good breakdown. You start to close below that wick. Yeah, this is actually, you know, we said, hey, double bottom could form, but in the shorter time frames. But if this daily crosses over, don't fight that. You're probably testing this low, making a new one. Where could it hold up? Well, it doesn't want to lose this. But thankfully, you know, Nike, we have an area down here towards this price point of about 85.50. So if we wanted to see some kind of drop, boom, 85.50 would be what I'd pay attention to. See if that divergence forms for Nike. I want to invest 6K on day stock. On day stock. Yeah, Robinhood's perfectly fine. Like, Robinhood's fine. People hate on it all the time. That's fine. But if you're new and you want to keep it simple, Robinhood's fine. Yeah, Nike's new slogan is "Don't do it, dear God." 10-year TLT. I mean, Tesla. I'm going to tell you right now, Tesla, its weekly expected move, it's way outside of it. You have like 10% that could, well, not 10%, probably like 6% down from here by end of the week. So just pay attention to that. What I would say is this 30-minute is probably going to get close to the center line. Most likely some kind of selling comes in, even if it goes down to just like 180.92. Something we've been paying attention to. Once you start to lose this gap support, boom, you could come and fill this gap. So if you're long on this, this would be, you know, where the weekly ranges say, hey, take profit, look for the pullback, then play the upside again later. And then next week you'll get a new range. That's probably going to be in this zone. I would really think, like, I think that the next zone for Tesla, you're probably going to see the upside range near this area. Or maybe it's like Friday daily option. You might see it up here. Let me see what Roby was saying. Just want to keep the money for a day. So that's, I call it a day stock. Just want to keep, oh, you just want to keep the money in for one day? I mean, technically that's just like, it's just like weird day trading. I don't tell him options. He worked hard for that $6,000. If you have $6,000, you can still, and you have like a job still. Roby, do you have a job? You had to get $6,000 somehow. Let me know. Don't immediately tell the guy options. Do you guys know how I started out making $6,000 a month? I used to make $6,000 a month. You guys know how I started out? I had $10,000, and now it took some time. I had to get to about 20K to start making $6,000 a month, but I made anywhere from 3.5 to $6,000 a month just with $20,000. After that point, I was like pretty steady. You have a job? All right, here's what you do. You learn how to trade for now, and you only trade without options. And over time, you're going to add 10% a month. So add 10% of whatever you make to your portfolio, not that. Just add that cash into your account and then still keep trading with that amount of money. And what you do is you learn how to take these plays without risking a ton of money, and you have stops in place. So like with Apple, you're looking for plays like this. Not necessarily like very, very good plays for one day, but this is something that'll help you on Robinhood because you don't want to be day trading up too much with $6,000 anyway, right? People have brought up how they have the constraints on that. What you'd more want to do is look for plays like this. Apple beats down, triple divergence. What do? You buy right here, right? You could even buy right here. You could probably buy when this RSI crosses above, right on this bar right here. Okay, you buy at 174, you just ride that thing up. Look for it to get like kind of oversold or something like that. Keep it very basic. Boom, I sell. I beat that down. Maybe you can look at a 4-hour too, see that curl up. Okay, play that move. If you have $6,000 and you just learn how to do daily, and you have a job, so that's why I think you won't have enough time to just stare at stocks. So what you could do is just trade a daily and a 4 hour. Not currently. Not currently. But 3.5 to 6K, I was making that 2 years ago. You think FOMC is bullish or neutral? I think they'll be. I don't think they want the rates to remain where they obviously want them to remain there because of the inflation play. But I think they're going to give us a cookie this week. Doesn't mean they have to. We're in a positive trend, Paracosm. We're in a positive trend. No, there's still some. You know, the stock market's always different. You know, yeah, but the stock market's always different, right? There are still, like, any trader who tells you, like, oh yeah, I just make $6,000 a month, 10 grand a month, blah blah blah. It's like, no, some months you're literally like waiting for the setup. So it's like, you know, some months you're waiting for the setup and it takes a whole month. I mean, sometimes I only take 1 trade in a month and it doesn't go that good. Sometimes I take 4 trades in a month and it doesn't go that good and I end up breaking even or only making a little bit of amount. But pretty much it's overall, you just want to be like, okay, when I do make good money, I just don't want to ruin it the next month. I'm going to get, oh, fuck. I'm changing my white shirt. My biggest gain was $17,000 in, no. It wasn't 17. It was a little bit less. My biggest gain, I'm talking about speed too. My biggest gain was, I think it was $13,000 in 1 day. I took a TLT play sometime last year and I followed the signals and I took a TLT play, and I normally don't do it, but with the play, I just thought the move was going to happen right away, even though I was going to hold it for like 2 weeks. So I took like a 2-week out play and I was just like, I think that big bounce is coming. The next day, it literally skyrocketed and I was like, oh God, I literally had like, I think I put $5,000 behind it and I made 13 to 15K in like 24 hours. How long does it take? Well, to put it in perspective, I've been doing this for what? Technically since I was like 20, but technicals I really didn't get a good grasp of until probably like 3 years ago. And then you still continue to learn. Even today, I'm still, you know, always trying to learn, always trying to make sure things are right, always testing myself. But overall, I would say you could get really, like, some people, if you can understand it, if you've got a good head on you and you can understand it, you could probably get very good at this over a month. Like, if you just really dedicate yourself to learning for a whole month, following price action, maybe not even taking trades, because say you only have $6,000, and $6,000 is great. Like, I'm not hating on that by any means. That's awesome that you're able to do that, because I know how hard it was for me to at the time to save up $10,000 to start, and then I built that to 20, and then I started making great money with my trades. But overall, it probably would take you like a month to get good at it. To get really, really good at it, you're probably going to need to go through a full year. A full year gives you like the emotions, and I'm saying a full year trading actual money. So I would use small amounts, but trading actual money allows the emotion to get in. A lot of people, you know, just think, oh, people like me, we don't get emotional. We see the trade setup, we take it, it works out. No, we're still like, oh crap. Okay, so how I've learned to help my emotion is figure out how I can get screwed. If I'm short here on the 2 hour, thinking that's going to curl over, okay, what if that curls back up? Well, I shouldn't be taking downside. Weeble, there you go. Maybe you need to do something like that. But I would say over a month, if you really dedicate yourself to it, you could probably be in a spot where you could trade money, like real money. I would just use small amounts and do it for a full year. Then you'll really prove, yeah, paper trading is decent. You'll really prove like, oh, okay, I can handle my emotions. I can do this. If you're not able to handle your emotions, you just don't want to do options. You want to trade those bigger time frames. You want to treat it kind of like you're an investor, a short-term investor for, 1 to 2 months at a time. Seeing that MACD curl up on the daily in positive territory. Okay, I'm an investor for the next 3 weeks. All right, guys, I'll be right back. I got to change this shirt. I look like I'm sick. I got to change it. Shut up, capture this. You did not win that. I hope so. I've been watching all the Oceans movies, except for Ocean's 8. I will not watch that. Sorry, guys. All right, I'll be right back, like, literally 1 minute. I got to change out of this shirt. I'm never wearing a white shirt again. I look like a guy going through detox. What the f... Phantom, I love that statement. If you notice, guys, I put on green. I put on green for a reason. Because we're going to make some money. I'm going to the gym after this anyway. I'm going to get a little gym session, you know, take care of the body. Free class if I go. If you won the jackpot, you better be willing to pay for the course. Technically, I'm giving you $50 discount. You know what I'm saying? SPY pushing lower. Yeah, it's still struggling to get out of the sell zone at that point. Wait, where? Who just said it? It was Dragon just said I just got stopped out of position. I just got stopped out of a position I was scaling into because my stop was wrong. That's frustrating. That is frustrating. You hate when that happens. By the way, when I was like, oh, I look like a guy going through rehab, like, or detoxing, the girls upstairs laughed at me. They're cooking. Is the course hands-on? I mean, it's video. It's video, so you're dealing with me directly. The way that I tried to make it hands-on in any way was, it's very hard for me to, like, make quizzes and things like that. Maybe one day I'll do that. Maybe we'll, like, put out something like that where we can test some people on some stuff. Like, it'd be really cool to make a multiple choice where you can select multiple options, or like, what's a reason to take a trade or something like that. Like, and it shows you have to select the 3 out of the 5. But overall, the reason that the course could be considered hands-on is just because I give my email a lot. Okay, so like, especially if you're part of the Patreon, you can always send me a message. If you're part of the Patreon, just send me a message if you have questions about the course, about making your weekly range using Robinhood, which, by the way, will happen. So, you know, in the course, you'll learn a way with Robinhood to make a range for any stock. For pasties. Oh, just joined. What do you think of Apple? Do you think there's bullish divergence on the daily? There is. Yes, BK. You're actually having the potential now for, if we see some dramatic drop-off, you can get a triple, but right now, we were paying attention to this a lot. We've mentioned this a lot over the last few weeks, this kind of building up, making a divergence down here. Now it is, and it's pretty significant before earnings. The only problem is that bounce is coming before earnings. That's not something you usually like too much, but that's what happened last time. Last time, earnings. What happened after earnings was small drop-off, and then that boomed because we got some good news from the Fed around here. A similar thing can happen here. What I'd like to see from Apple in order to take the play, technically, if you're playing the divergence, this bar right here would be the bar you're in at. So that person with $6,000 trading like this, okay, this would be an entry for you. You treat it like an investor. You don't mess with options or anything like that. And then you see that go up. All right, see if it's able to break through. You can hold it for some time. Look if that's able to break through the moving averages. That's probably when you get back out. But at this point, you would say, hey, divergence is here. That daily momentum is taking over. But you got a rock in front of you. You got the rock in the stream, right? We trade like water. We got a rock in the stream. That would be earnings. Earnings can be a 50-50 flip. So what do I want to see? Well, if I'm going to take any kind of upside from here, I really need this 30-minute to curl up into positive territory. The problem with it curling up right now is it would be curling up, giving you a divergence in a sell zone. Look at this zone. Selling, selling, retest, selling. So that would tell me if I create something like this, boom, I'm paying attention to it. And a good thing I have my weekly expected moves. Really looks like Apple could, over the next couple of days, pull back down, and then maybe it's bullish again after earnings. I don't trade around earnings, though. If you wanted to take a chance on this, I would say wait for it to pull back at least before you do that, and take a small size that you're probably willing to lose, because you could. It's betting black or red. But BK, welcome. Planning to buy some shares? Hey, that's perfectly fine. I would say you're a little bit late to the move if you're buying shares, just a little bit, but this does not look like a bad hold. You saw the last time we were here, the big reaction. This is a good area. It's just you got to get through this sell zone. The real entry, though, was last Thursday. Last Thursday was the real entry to this. And that's why we don't mess around when things cross up, especially with divergence, right? We said that multiple times. I said this could curl down from here, right? We were like, this could curl down from here. The 2 hours right by the center line. But am I fighting it? Am I taking that play? No. No. Why? Because the daily momentum can take over, and that's what's happening now. So you just want to be cautious with that. But as an investment, I totally understand. See if that can build up over time. Maybe you see some kind of thing like this happen, and that's able to buy up, right? And we're able to go to something like this, 188, 190. J&J, yeah, you like your J&J. Hey, I respect it. People like different stocks. I get it. Now, J&J could be dipping down. What we want to look for here, 2 hour. Okay, if this 2 hour can complete it, oh, this will be a good one. This will be some significant divergence if it's able to prove itself. But that's just the scenario going through my head. This is negative territory. Okay, we can drop down. I'm saying, what if we create some kind of base down here with a divergence? Oh my gosh, that would be right next to positive territory. That would look like a solid trade setup. If you take the course, you can make a range for this guy. As of right now, we went up and almost tested that level of 150.96. Mark that as important. All right. We drop down. We bounce from our other level of 147.24. Okay, we get that little bounce. Now we're dropping below it, using it as resistance. So I would say a test of the low is very, very likely here. And we could just see that brief. So pay attention if it's pretty brief. It could just be we get some selling into Wednesday, and then maybe after the Fed interest rate, we can see. But I would just say, it looks like this could start to pull down, and then this is the better entry than trying to enter right now. Now, you could pay attention to this. If this wants to base out at any time, what's going to happen? The 2 hour is going to curl up, and you're going to continue the positive trend, right? So if this here wants to buy up from this level, I'm just paying attention if this MACD can curl up. Positive territories right there. RSI gets above the center line. It all looks good from there. And I think maybe the reason I'm leaning towards this is this right here didn't get oversold, right? So that wasn't a rapid big move on the 2 hour. What I'd like to see now is us create that base and then get that rapid move and then base out and get that one. And these are the type of plays that I like to take, actually. A lot of the time I'll look for this kind of setup by a weekly range and then take that big move up, because that's when the momentum likes to explode higher. I make my money quick. Now I can watch a 30-minute beat down and just curl back up, and I'm back in. Kind of treat it like a swing trader. But as of right now, it looks like the direction has been chosen for some downside, and I think a divergence is probably the most likely scenario here. Some kind of test of this low or the making of a divergence going forward. Tesla really starting to drop off here. Remember, still paying attention to the 30-minute. 30-minute, all we got to do is be patient. Wait for this thing to start to go up from here. NVIDIA we haven't looked at for a second here. The problem with NVIDIA, now you have a steep divergence. If we go into a 15-minute, you're going to see, look at that. It's right by negative territory. You have the divergence here. It's very, very significant. Be very cautious with NVIDIA. Now, this can continue. I'm not saying it can't, but I'm just saying this is a sign of a little bit of weakness. The fact that you kind of completed the cup, you got the handle, and now you're breaking back below that cupping and handling, right? So if you say this level is important, all right, there's your little cup, here's your little handle, you break out and then you fade that move. Not the best sign. So pay attention if the 15-minute goes negative. If that 15-minute rolls back up, okay, the positivity can continue, but this is a moment where that 15-minute can go negative and start some kind of negative trend here. KO! The Coca-Cola. Well, first of all, 15-minute divergence. But I like my 30-minute divergences. Look how steep that is. So actually, Coca-Cola giving you some divergence here, even after the earnings. So Coca-Cola, even with the good move, looks kind of weak here. Good earnings. But it looks like the 30-minute, what can it do? It can go negative here. So I'd pay attention if this starts to print a red bar. Okay, maybe you can take a chance with it. I would keep my stop a little tighter, maybe at this level right here, right at 62. and then say, okay, if that just continues to drop off, well, it's going to break through these levels. There's nothing to hold it up in here. Maybe target something like $60. $60, just a quick 2-point move would make sense here, and then we can see if that's able to curl back up. If that's going to continue the negative trend, well, what do? We see a big drop down, we curl back up to the center line, we curl down again. So there is weakness in momentum here for Coca-Cola. Lucas, why don't you look at, I actually do. So something that I was looking at, you guys, I look at these more at night. I look at the futures more at nighttime, and I like to look at a 2-hour and a 4-hour. I talk about it a little bit, but overall, I'm looking for signals. So last night, what did I see? Well, I see this divergence, and it looks very steep on the RSI, very steep on the MACD up here. So that's why weakness looks like the most likely scenario from here. Some kind of pullback is coming. I don't necessarily pay attention to it during the trading hours, but I'll pay attention to it at night and be like, okay, is my stuff proving? Is this proving itself? Well, it kind of is, but we're still holding up here. So it looks like the market's waiting. It's waiting for tomorrow. Tomorrow's such a big day. SMCI's earnings. Yeah, it very well might. In SMCI, we want to pay attention to that. Look at this, just trickling higher, getting overbought on a 2-hour right before earnings. Ooh, not the best sign. Not the best sign. Tuesday, okay, so today after hours, we can pay attention to that. We'll probably talk about a little bit of this stuff in tonight's video. But as of right now, well, what would you say? You'd be like, okay, this is pretty cooked on the 2-hour. This could explode with earnings. It's still a 50-50 flip. Remember that the technicals during earnings, a little bit rough. So actually, like, weirdly enough, a week of earnings, if you're new to trading and things like that, if you just stay away from it, most of the time you do better in the stock market. You look for the direction after earnings, and then you just play the next swing up. But I would overall just say, if you want to trade, most likely staying away from earnings, a good opportunity for this week would be like, take a course. You know, it really would. It would be an awesome opportunity. It's going to give you a little bit of time to let the craziness play out. You can learn during it instead of like lose or, 50-50 shot at making money. If you really want to, you can go to it's a lot faster to play out. If you just like go to the casino today, put it on black. Okay, cool. $100, sick. All right, cool. Now I'm done. Now I go take that course. It's a good opportunity to learn. After I experienced a lot of earnings losses, that's when, the Zillow loss. Remember, I talk about my like $6,000 to $8,000 Zillow loss around earnings because the signals looked great and then it just dropped by like 20%. So that's why I don't trade around earnings anymore. And instead of trading more earnings to try to catch up, all I did was watched what was happening. I thought of what I could learn from these earnings, and I started to learn, don't trade around them. I started to learn expected moves. I started to learn weekly ranges, and that was a few years ago. You saved me so much with that advice. Never lean on earnings. It's because you can convince yourself the technicals look good, and they very well could from an investment standpoint. That's why I like whoever came in with saying like, hey, I have $6,000. I'm trying to get started. Okay, look for points where it's a good investment, not a good trade, right? A good investment for a month or something like that. Okay, this right here was a great investment for a month. Let's look at what happened from here if you took this investment, because what did we have? We had triple divergence. And at this point, you'd say, I don't care if there's earnings here. I'm going to treat this as it's a good price. And then say, okay, I'm getting the triple divergence. The technicals are with me. Let's say there's no earnings here. Let's just ignore it because I'm investing. I'm not going to lose all of my money if it comes down to here. Still keeping my stop here. Maybe moving that up below the bar that I invested, below the closing of where I invested. So it's not a huge loss, right? 4 points, not that bad. But what you can notice here is if I did that here, what happened over the next month? Okay, let's see what happened over the next 30 days. Boom, right there. All right, so 30 days. 21 bars, 30 days. Let's say that you sold in this area, in this clump right in here. Well, you just made 10% in a month. 10% in a month, you will be beating the S&P every single year. How do you read divergence? We go over in the course, but like how to really... But the way you get good at spotting divergence is just time. You have to put in the time. You have to go back and look, find every point where there's divergence, right? So what I did when I went through some earnings losses was I started to really get into weekly ranges and things like that. And divergences was something that I really was starting to learn extensively. And I just said, you know what, why don't I go back? Why don't I go all the way back, go on like a weekly or a daily, and look at points where we saw dramatic selling? Well, what happened at a lot of those points, if you go back to like, say, the S&P 500, what happened at a lot of those points? There was divergence. So I started to pay attention to that back test, and then I let all the earnings play out, and then I came in the next week and was like, okay, I can trade again. Yeah, that Zillow moment was pretty rough. I'm going to tell you guys, it was pretty rough, because I even convinced like my dad didn't take a huge trade on it, but I even convinced my dad the technicals look good, because, you know, there comes a point for every trader when they're doing well, especially in the early days, if you do well fast, that you're like, oh, I think I know everything. And then you learn something about earnings, and earnings puts you in your place. So we did KO like literally 5 seconds ago. I feel like this thing looks like it might drop down with some daily. That's a big daily move. Looks like it needs some kind of pullback maybe. But KO for this, you'd look at a 2 hour and things like that. But the 30-minute divergence, really what I'm paying attention to. It looks like downside is likely if we can cross over on this MACD. If we're not able to cross over, you might just see this continue. Be cautious going into tomorrow, but yeah, the Zillow loss, the reason it was so like a moment where I was like, I need to learn more, is because I like told my dad the technicals look good. When I take a trade with this type of setup, it is like insane how good it does and this kind of thing. And then it did bad. And so I not only lost like $6,000 to $8,000 on my own, I think I lost my dad like $2,000. So don't trade around earnings is the big lesson there. Thankfully, I've gotten a lot better, and now I know not to trade around earnings. So my dad believes in me again. He watches my videos and stuff. Sometimes he tunes into the live. He just doesn't chat. Oh, a 30-minute divergence there would be nice. Let's see what Tesla is able to do here. Still curling down on the MACD. Potential for a big drop for Tesla still, though. Like 68% chance we end up lower. I already started to scale into a VIX position. I already started to scale into this. Now, that bullishness can come. This is very telling. This bullishness can come, but I think Apple's telling us something going into this sell zone. So VIX coming down maybe makes another point of divergence, but I think Apple, if it goes up into the sell zone and completes a divergence, is really trying to tell us something. It's telling us, watch out, the momentum's dead up here. Not saying it can't go up. If it goes up continuously, well, oof. I'll actually be taking probably some VIX volatility calls. Now, when you take those volatility calls, you don't have to use that much, right? I'm not trying to like make a whole. I'm not trying to make what $10,000-$20,000 off it. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna take this, and if it works out, I'll make $2,000, and I'll be like, hey, good play, because volatility is one of the hardest things to do. You have to be so quick with it. I made a bad play a few weeks ago and lost 5,000. So you were up 5,000 and then down 5,000. My position on the VIX, I have UVXY to 38 for about a month out. The UVXY, you notice you have to be so quick with it. So the last pop in volatility, I caught this one, right? This pop in volatility I caught. Okay, all I did was took a small call here at like 39 or something like that. It went up like this really fast. Okay, I took profit immediately. Now this is doing this, right? You don't necessarily want to do technicals on this because it's 3 times, or it's a leveraged one and it decays. But overall, you would say, okay, if I think volatility is going to spike here, what most likely happens? Well, it could fill this gap. It could do some kind of 3 to 8 point move. So 38 looks like a good level. Even if I see a pop in that, well, I have my option for further out, and someone most likely will buy that at that point. So that's how I do it. So the volatility here, yeah, you have a 30-minute divergence, but right now you're still negative. You weren't able to go positive. So that tells me, what if we do something like this? If we start to drop dramatically here, right? Start to drop dramatically here, then I'll probably just wait. But actually, that's a good point. Because we have some room on the RSI, we have some room on the MACD here. So if we break below this wick here, I'll probably be out. The thing with volatility too is like, I have to look at this and then just sell the position as my stop pretty much. It's kind of hard for me to make the stop because this does decay, because you see it's going below this low already. So I really have to like watch volatility, be like if it breaks below, closes below here on a 30-minute, okay, it could go lower. And then maybe I get back in later on, right? I see this happen and then curl back up. Boom, I can get in here as it goes positive, because a little bit of time can eat away at the price of this. Calls, I'm taking calls on the VIX, just a small play. Because I'm not going to FOMO into a move right now. I'm not in a position where this would be good to take, right? The SPY, I'm still not believing this is a good spot to take a position. Even if I do see that curl up, that could easily create a divergence and fall. And then maybe it does something like this, right? And then we actually sell off from this zone. So I'm being patient. I'm being patient for upside, and I'm looking for options for buys. But right now I just don't see much going on, and maybe I need to flip through a little bit, right? See some 30 minutes curling down, 30-minute curling down. I just need a little bit more time. Amazon has earnings. I don't want to play that. Nvidia possibly giving you actually a divergence, right, on the 15 minutes. So I don't want to do that. AMD giving you divergence before earnings and earnings. Don't want to do that. Meta very in negative territory still. I don't want to do that. Microsoft, well, it's in negative territory. Look like it could curl down on the 2 hour. Not going to do that. Google looks like it's curling down. This is the one. Hey, maybe this is the one that if that turns up, I can be bullish on it. That's what I would say. Google looks like the one that is beat down enough. It's by that center line. Look at the RSI. That curls up. The MACD curls up. Boom, we get above this level here. You're breaking the recent trend. Okay, boom, we start that positive trend to the upside. AMD just looks like the momentum's dying out. But any technicals on AMD you have to take with a grain of salt. Earnings, 50-50 flip. They could print great numbers. Stock go down. Why? Because they say, oh, well, we're going through a chip shortage. We're going through a manufacturing problem. We're going through a blah, blah, blah. We're going through a China something, right? So all of these things can start to happen. And that's why I'm not really going to trade around AMD. I took it off of my trading list. When things do have earnings, especially when they're behaving poorly and they have earnings, I'm literally taking it off my trading list. Microsoft just looks like it can continue. I mean, Microsoft does look okay, though. Like Microsoft and Google are probably the two that I would think about taking upside if I can see a little bit more price action. If this can curl up, then I can take a chance and have a stop. But if this just keeps going down, I have no reason to take a trade until I see some confirmation, at least the RSI getting above 50. It does look like a dead cat bounce. If you really look at this and you go daily, and you probably even just pull up like a fib retracement, it's probably going to be an area where it's testing like what, the 0.32 or whatever. Oh, whoops, wrong one. Yeah, so actually we're getting a 0.5, so right here would make sense to sell off a little bit. We struggle above the 0.5, we retest the 0.5, now we drop off. It would make sense. I'm still leaning towards, like, if this wants a higher low in this area anywhere, well, we come all the way back up to this little golden pocket in here, and that's why I think this area here is very important. If you notice, this kind of lines up with where 438.28 would be for the Qs. So right in this area would be where the Qs are sitting at, and I think that's the next time that we see some selling really come in if we're going to get that lower high. I'm balls deep on Nvidia. Let's go look at Nvidia. What's this thing doing? Remember, it's curling up on the daily MACD, so if we really want weakness here, all the moving averages are getting behind it. You look at them; they're the big guy. The big guy's pushing the running back at this point. Here's your running back. Can they push him through and break through some levels or start to really push into positive territory? Can these big guys down here push this price into positive territory? We'll have to see. Nvidia or AMD earnings probably going to affect that. But right now, 15-minute divergence looks like it could go negative, kind of confirming at this point as well. Kind of a wonky divergence, not the best. Kind of looks like Amazon, right, on the daily. But what did Amazon do on the daily scale back after all that happened? Well, it took a lot of time, but Amazon on the daily, you see this, how it looks similar-ish to the 15-minute. What happened? Well, they were selling in that move, and then that had a dramatic drop-off. So I'd just be careful. What's the daily expected on the SPY? Daily expected on the SPY would be 513.69 to the upside, and you have 506.43 to the downside. Hopefully you guys know how to use these daily ranges. Remember that course? Only for like 4 days, 149. May the 4th be with you. Wait, that's not Star Wars. Sorry. I need a laser and shoot it really, really badly. That's Star Wars. That's Star Wars. ABV. I haven't looked at this in a hot minute. Oh, okay. So look at this. This is a play. This is a play for I would say, at least daily side, this is a play for an investment here. Because you have divergence, you're above the 200. If you can confirm above the 5, you'd be going positive here, maybe on the MACD. You'd at least get that crossing up. Maybe the RSI is able to get above 50. This is what you're looking for in the market, I think, is something like this. Look at that move, though. Okay, big move down. What's happening from here? Well, we're getting that daily divergence. So we could see this catch some steam here, man. You're still above the 200. Now, what you want to look for as well is maybe an entry point. How would you enter into this position? Well, if you take the course, you already know how to enter. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. You already know how to enter if you take the course because, boom, right here, you're seeing the signals right in front of you. There it is. So this here looks like a decent setup. If I had weekly ranges, I would say it's a great setup, but for now, I'm going to say decent. Look at this up here as well. Boom, we base out. Boom, breakthrough, retest. Boom, you continue that positive trend as long as we can get there on the 2 hour. The SPY looks like it's getting closer and closer to wanting to turn down. Be a little careful here. Still have earnings though. Green bars with a red MACD. The yin and yang. Sweet, thanks. You're welcome, Brian. I hope that was helpful. Options are going crazy. What do you see in Kalani? And Shane, hopefully you're able to get those daily expected moves. Give me a thumbs up. Be like, yeah, I got them. All right, let me click around here. Let me go look at my stuff again. Ooh, Tesla. Yikes. Starting to test that level, guys. Tesla really starting to test that level where you don't want to break through or else you're probably going to flush a little bit. So 30-minute here, beaten down. This is where you can go test that 180.92. If you're not able to hold above that, I think we're probably going to go fill this gap or at least test the weekly range. So pay attention if you're part of the Patreon to the weekly range somewhere in this area. And then from there, you'd say if we start to get back in that, okay, it looks like where we started might be where we base out, do some kind of gap fill. I'm going to click through over here. Volatility is starting to gain some steam, just a little bit. Apple starting to fade just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Tesla dropping off. Amazon looking a little weak. Nvidia looking a little weak on the 15-minute from a momentum perspective. Meta, I have my weekly ranges up for Meta. Getting tight. Could see a big move. Watch for that 30-minute to roll over into negative territory for Meta. That's going to be telling. If we're going to see some positive news from these earnings, we're going to take back some key levels there. I believe it was like 453. Microsoft dropping down. The cool part about Microsoft, if you're paying attention to the weekly expected moves, is the 2 hour has already curled down. Okay, so Microsoft, the 2 hour has already curled down. So what does that tell me? I should be looking out for divergence. What can I use to solidify like, hey, the probabilities are with me? I can use weekly ranges, right? So the weekly range somewhere down in this level, right? And we can see that move down, look for a spike up, then see that divergence. Now that rolls up the daily. So if you see down here, the daily still decently close to positive territory, still some likelihood for a lower high, right? But a 2 hour divergence down here would lead to maybe a big buy up, and we'll have to see. Most likely we do try to test this high actually if that daily is able to cross and go positive. No bad news. We actually could see a big move from Microsoft to try to head to higher levels, see what happens at these highs. We'll have to see. We'll pay attention to any kind of 30-minute or 2 hour signals if there is a big move for some kind of lower high. But Microsoft, if it can build a little bit more structure, grab some more liquidity, it could be a good sign with a 2 hour divergence. All right, let's look at Google. Google is another one we're paying attention to. Now, this one was a good buy up, and it does have a good range here. And I'm going to tell you right now, it might be at that bottom of that range right now. So Google actually saying, this is all the beat down I need. And maybe that's people rotating out of some stocks with some bad earnings, and then they rotate into Google. Or maybe those earnings are just going to be good news and Google gets that next move. If you're wanting to play this move in Google, you have a good setup here. Kind of like a swing trade. All right, 30 minutes starts to cross above these moving averages. MACD crosses up into positive territory. RSI curls up into positive territory as well. So all of this actually looks pretty good for the next move higher if we can get that to curl up. Excuse me. Now, the good part is we pretty much just did a full breakdown, didn't we? We did a pretty good breakdown right there. Then we go look at TLT last. Okay, TLT looking like it needs to drop down. We'll have to see. Let's look at it on this 30-minute scale here. It crossed down, still in positive territory at this moment. Came down, filled the gap. It looks like it filled the gap. Let's see if it actually did. Let's see. The close on this was 88.26. The low on this, 88.43. So not fully closing this at this point. We could see that drop a little bit lower. Let's target the next gap. Look for some kind of divergence down here. That would be pretty telling. Maybe we drop tomorrow, and then we see that actually be able to go back up. But bonds have been acting very, very bad for some time. Looks like some kind of reaction down is coming. But we'll just have to find out, see if there's another push higher for the volatility. And then lastly, the dollar. I just want to be very clear. The dollar is looking like another move higher is coming. 4 hours able to go positive. If it can break through this level, you're going to probably see that selling come in soon. I would say after these earnings, we're definitely going to start seeing whether or not the dollar is going to say, hey, yeah, we're selling off, or we're getting a bigger bounce, and that sell-off will come later on. So just pay attention to that going forward. Overall, I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for showing up. Like, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for asking questions. The reason that I always say, like, thank you for asking questions isn't because, like, it gives me something to do. It's because it means, like, hey, you're trying. Like, it really proves you're trying. And if you're one of those people who doesn't think they know everything, then you're going to be one of the people who is always learning. And I'm still always learning. So the fact that I'm still always learning means you should probably be in that mentality too. Take your losses and be like, how can I learn from them? And that's why I really like you guys asking questions. It's very, very awesome to see people who are just hungry to learn. Now, that being said, if you need some more learning, if you want to learn how to actually make money in this market, $149 for the course for 4 days. All right. I know I keep saying it, but I like to say it when we have a sale. I'll probably talk a lot less about it in the future once the sale goes away. But just know you can save yourself a little bit of money and maybe stay away from earnings and learn during this period of time, and then just start to play after earnings. Like, that will really save you in a market like this. But I really appreciate you guys coming by. I'm going to put this on the SPY just for a little bit if you guys want to chat. And look at that, we're starting to sell off. So we can put it on a 2 hour, see if that's able to confirm by the end of the day. And maybe we end up down in this area and these dailies start to shift down, right? These dailies, I'm expecting a big daily expected move for tomorrow. So be looking out for tonight's YouTube video. I will be making a YouTube video tonight. Just got some Goog and AbbVie. There you go, Nick. I wish you all the luck in the world with that, man. I think it's a decent one. We'll have to see if Google's able to see that upward move. Not getting confirmation yet, so I'm not willing to say that upward move is fully there, but you can see the structure there. If it just wants to curl back up, you can really see that. So thank you guys for showing up. Make sure to grab the course. Be a part of the Patreon if you want the weekly ranges. If you want to learn how to use those weekly ranges, the course is going to be very, very good for you. But I'm going to go hit the gym and get some lunch. It is about that time. So thank you guys for showing up today. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing, and I wish you guys nothing but luck for the rest of your day. And I'll be live twice tomorrow. Remember that. I will be live twice tomorrow, one for the morning and one for Jerome Powell, all right? So we'll get 2 streams tomorrow. Most likely not a YouTube video tomorrow. We'll probably just stream while he's talking and then break down the stocks at the end. Maybe look at some with some earnings. But thank you guys so much for joining. I always end up doing shoulders because I've dislocated both my shoulders playing semi-pro soccer. So thank you guys for joining. Hope you guys have a good day. Peace.